Hello and welcome to the News at 7, where we get to the heart of the day's stories and communities across Scotland. Tonight, the sister of a man who gave evidence to the Scottish Child Abuse Inquiry said lessons need to be learned following his death. Melanie Watson spoke of her devastation after Kevin took his own life in December.
I'm doing everything I can to make sure my brother's not forgotten and just to basically highlight it to other people so no other families have to go through this. Because I wouldn't wish this for my worst enemy.
Also tonight, a cargo vessel which left Grangemouth yesterday collided with an oil tanker in the North Sea. We'll bring you the latest. And we're in London, where the King has sent the Commonwealth Games batons on their journey to Glasgow ahead of the 2026 event. Sheila's also here with the sport. What have you got for us tonight, Sheila?
We'll hear more from Scottish golfer Callum Hill, who hopes his win at the Joburg Open can propel him towards a PGA Tour card.
And we'll check in with Judith and Grado ahead of their latest Scottish adventure. Hi, I'm Laura McKeever. Welcome to the News at 7. The sister of an abuse survivor who's believed to have taken his own life after an inquiry refused to restore his anonymity says someone needs to be held accountable for his death. Kevin Sutherland went missing in December last year and his body's never been found. The Scottish Child Abuse Inquiry has commissioned an independent review into what happened. Well, Katie Hunter has been speaking to Kevin's sister Melanie Watson and joins us now. Katie, what's Melanie been saying to you?
Well, Laura, Melanie says that every day she wonders if today is the day that her brother's body will be found. As a child and teenager, Kevin Sutherland spent time in care and he gave evidence to the Scottish Child Abuse Inquiry back in 2022. Now, he had previously agreed to waive his anonymity, but he later regretted that decision and he asked for his name to be removed from online evidence, which could easily be found through internet searches. Now, Melanie has released an email from her brother to the inquiry in September last year. And I'll just read you some of that. Kevin wrote, "In the unfortunate event of any harm befalling me due to the refusal to remove this statement, my family will likely have grounds to take legal action." He wrote, "Please, I'm begging you here in writing to have this statement anonymised so I can finally move on from all of this." Now, that request was refused, and that's a decision that Melanie says led to her brother's suicide.
This was just taking over his whole life. From morning to night, this is all he went on about. Like he couldn't focus on anything else in life. He couldn't see anything good around him and enjoy life because of this. And it took him to this was the last final straw. He could not deal with it anymore. I'm doing everything I can to make sure my brother's not forgotten and just to basically highlight it to other people so no other families have to go through this. Because I wouldn't wish this for my worst enemy.
So what have the inquiry been saying?
Well, the form Kevin signed said that once anonymity was waived, that he couldn't ask for that to be revoked at a later date. But what Melanie says is that he was vulnerable, he didn't realise his evidence would be so easy to find on internet searches like Google. And we do understand that that waiver has now been updated. A spokesperson for the Scottish Child Abuse Inquiry said, "Our thoughts are with the family of Kevin Sutherland and all of those who have been affected. In the interest of transparency, the inquiry's commissioned an independent review to consider all aspects of its interactions with him." And the statement continued, "The review is being carried out by Jason Beer, KC. Mr. Beer agreed the terms of reference for the independent review, and these are available on the inquiry website."
OK, Katie, many thanks. And thank you for joining us on tonight's News at 7. More to come in the programme, including Judith and Grado take us on a whistle-stop tour ahead of the latest series of Scotland's Greatest Escape.
If you had the warm spring sunshine at the weekend, the week ahead, much colder. I'll have a full forecast for you later in the programme.
Now, dozens of people have been brought ashore after a cargo ship travelling from Grangemouth collided with an oil tanker in the North Sea. There are now environmental concerns about jet fuel spilling onto the waters off the East Yorkshire coast. Well, our correspondent David Wallace-Lockhart has been following the story for us and he's here with us. David, both of these ships carrying really quite sensitive cargo.
Yeah, we've got two ships involved here, Laura. The Stena Immaculate, that was anchored, a US flagship that was carrying jet fuel owned by the US Department of Defence. The company that owns that ship said there were multiple explosions on board after the collision, jet fuel entering the water. We've seen fires, we've seen black smoke coming off these vessels, thick black smoke, and you'd imagine that jet fuel will have played a role in this. We've also found out this evening that the Salong, that was the second ship involved, the ship that was moving, that was going from Grangemouth to Rotterdam, and it was carrying sodium cyanide. That's a highly toxic chemical which can generate toxic gas if it's heated up. It's unclear at this point if that entered the water. But here we're talking about jet fuel, we're talking about a highly toxic chemical. There will be lots of work going on to try and ascertain the environmental impact of all of this and to try and contain the impact of all of this. We should talk about people involved as well. Local ambulance service saying 36 people have been assessed, brought ashore and assessed, but no one required to go to hospital.
How does something like this happen?
Well, that's a key question in all of it. It's a busy shipping lane. We can see from the data that the Salong appears to have been on quite a straight course when it struck the Stena Immaculate. Visibility not great in that area this morning. There was fog, but these are big modern ships with all the technological equipment you would expect that would come with that. Incidents like this should not happen. Downing Street are saying it's extremely concerning, and the Marine Accident Investigation Branch, it's a UK government branch who investigate incidents like this, are sending a preliminary team out to try and ascertain the beginnings of what went on here.
Yeah, still a developing story. People can follow that on the BBC News website, can't they, David? Thank you for now. Some of the day's other news now, and the legacy of one of Scotland's most successful golfers is being celebrated by his hometown club. Bobby Cruikshank was born in 1894 in Grantown-on-Spey. He carved out an extraordinary career in America, but his story remains less well known here. Grantown-on-Spey Golf Club have created an experience so people can learn about his achievements.
We sometimes get Americans coming here just to see the home of Bobby Cruikshank. And people here, we don't give them a very good response because nobody's clued up on it yet. He really is the forgotten golfer. He was up there with them and he deserves his place in history, you know.
Right, time to get a roundup now of the stories making the BBC News app in Scotland. And several business units in Inverness have been destroyed by fire after a car was deliberately driven into them and set alight. A man wearing dark clothing and a balaclava was seen running away from the scene. The SNP have appointed their interim chief executive, Carol Beattie, to the role permanently. The former chief executive of Stirling Council took the interim job after the resignation of Murray Foot last October. A large mural of the late football legend Denis Law is taking shape on a high-rise in his home city of Aberdeen. Law scored 30 goals for Scotland over his career, making him our joint top goal scorer. And for more information on all of these stories, you can scan the QR code there for you in the screen now. It will take you to the BBC Scotland News app, where there is much more there for you, including the £17 million growth deal which has been signed for Argyll and Bute. Now, King Charles has launched the King's Baton Relay at Buckingham Palace ahead of the Glasgow 2026 Commonwealth Games. He handed the baton to champion cyclist Sir Chris Hoy, the first beater on its journey around the world. Well, our sports news correspondent Chris McLaughlin is in London for us tonight. Chris, 500 days to go.
Yeah, 500 days to go. It was Commonwealth Day today as well. Today, I think, was really the day that Glasgow 2026 got the royal seal of approval. It was quite the day here in London today. We had a special Commonwealth service in Westminster Abbey attended by the King and Queen Camilla, as well as the Prince and Princess of Wales. A real Commonwealth theme to that service today. Then it was on to Buckingham Palace behind me here, where the King, as you say, put a special message inside the King's baton for that relay to begin around these 74 nations and territories. A bit of a different feel this year. There won't be one continuous. Really, all of those 74 nations and territories will get their own baton and bring them back to Glasgow for next summer. Now, the man who made the special baton was a man called Tim Norman, a Glaswegian who made it in his workshop in Govan, and the man who had the honour of taking the baton from the King was one of the UK's and Scotland's most celebrated athletes.
I think of the Commonwealth Games as the event that really kick-started my career. It was my first ever major multi-sport games in 1998. I won my first gold medal at international level individually in Manchester in 2002, and I just see it as a wonderful celebration of sport and humanity. So I'm delighted that, you know, that Glasgow stepped in, and it's going to be an amazing event next year.
And Chris, as you said, the baton designed by a Scot, but this is all part of a sort of pared back games this time round.
It is fewer athletes, fewer venues, a smaller budget. It will look very different. One thing that I did pick up today, though, was I mentioned earlier on trying to get that royal seal of approval. The Commonwealth and the Commonwealth Games is something that really matters to the royal family and to the King in particular. He was very keen today to give it as much pomp and ceremony as possible, and it's now over to Glasgow to deliver.
Indeed. Chris, live from London for us tonight. Thank you. Still to come, we have the weather with Chris, and we'll hear from Judith and Greedo on their latest Scottish adventures. But first, let's get the sport with Sheila.
Thank you, Laura. Good evening. We're fast approaching kick-off in the one remaining Scottish Cup quarter-final. Will it be David Martindale's Livingston or Simo Valakari's St Johnstone joining Celtic, Hearts and Aberdeen in tonight's draw for the semis? Well, the teams are in, and promotion-chasing Livy side have made two changes, with on-loan striker Stevie May not allowed to play against his parent club. So Teddy Yengi comes in for him. Andrew Shinnie replaces Robbie Fraser. As for St Johnstone, who are taking a break from their relegation battle, well, they've made just the one change as they look for more success in a competition that they've enjoyed in recent years. Jonathan Svedberg in for Dre Wright. Let's hear from both managers.
I think it'll be a really exciting game. I'm really looking forward to it. Do I think we're underdogs? Aye, probably a wee bit. But do I enjoy that tag? Probably a wee bit. Do I think we've got a chance of progressing to the semi-final? More than a wee bit.
I think for the both clubs it's a very, very big opportunity, as both clubs will see it, you know, to advance to semi-finals. And yes, it's a competition. We want to be successful. We have been successful as a club.
Now, it was a special Sunday for this man here, Callum Hill from the Crook of Devon near Kinross. That's because he won his second DP World Tour golf title in South Africa at the Joburg Open, 4 years after lifting his maiden trophy. His victory came at the second playoff hole when opponent Jack Crowitz missed a routine putt to extend the contest. Hill's currently in Dubai, and Kenny Crawford caught up with him today.
Yeah, I think it took like 30 seconds to sink in. I think whenever you have someone with like a 5-footer like that, you just anticipate that. And then when he did, it still took like a second for me to clock in. And then Connor and Miranda and Rich Mansell, everyone.
Quite an upward movement, although you've still obviously got work to do. How big a boost does that give you in terms of seeing what that win has done for your ranking and how quickly things can change if you get the results?
Yeah, it's brilliant. You see the likes of Laurie Cantor from, say, November, December last year to now. He's gone from somewhere in the hundreds to in the top 50 in the world, having a very good stretch of golf and some good tournaments. You near the PGA Championship cutoff, which is a little short-term goal probably for the next 3 weeks. If I can do well enough on that, then you never know what would happen.
And Robert McIntyre, we saw him finish the PGA Tour and just fly that flag a little bit more for the Scottish nation.
I know all of us that are, you know, in that same group area that are playing in Europe right now are all aiming for that card to get to America. I think it's where most of the people would want to go towards as far as their career trajectory. And I think we'd all be delighted just to be able to join Bob out there and hopefully have you know, a good PGA Tour career. It's where the best players in the world play, and I think we'd all be aiming to play with them.
Well done again for your win at the Joburg Open. Have you still got the golf?
Somebody else has it. But yeah, thanks, Kenny.
I'm sure he's enjoying himself anyway. Well, you can read more about Callum and keep up to date with all the action from tonight's Scottish Cup quarter-final between Livingston and St Johnstone on the BBC Sport Scotland website. And a lot of that match is coming up right after this, right after us at 7:30.
It is indeed. Nobody needs to move. Sheila, thank you so much. And we're going to stay with sport now because Scotland's only Olympic boxing champion, Dick McTaggart, has died at the age of 89. The sporting legend from Dundee won 610 out of 634 amateur contests and turned down offers to turn professional. McTaggart trained at Dundee's St Francis Amateur Boxing Club. Norrie McVicker, the club secretary, told me he was a remarkable man.
Well, it's on record in terms of his achievements in winning an Olympic gold and then again a bronze in 1960. But on top of that, the fact that he won the Val Barker Trophy for the most stylish boxer in the Olympics speaks volume as what a type of boxer he was.
What was his style like then?
His style, for a boxer's boxer, we see the Dick McTaggart style as being a leading jab boxer. He had everything. He was a natural. He was one of those dedicated boxers. The fact that he had over 634 fights tells you that he was committed to what he did in terms of his training and his execution of his boxing.
And what was he like as a person, Norrie?
As a human being, he was humble, full of humanity, and a great person to work with and to know. And he was always there. As much as we speak about his relationship with boxing clubs in Dundee and the former Midlands, Dick was renowned for his work with boxing clubs all over Scotland. Whenever they needed advice or get Dick to help them present prizes at their boxing shows, Dick was always there. He was a true amateur and lover of grassroots boxing.
And why do you think that was then? Humble seems to be a word lots of people are using about him today. Why did that level of boxing appeal to him more, maybe?
I think it's the generation that Dick McTaggart and his family came from. The fact that he was one of 18 children and a generation that was hungry to do something with their lives. I mean, his own father insisted that him and his brothers learn to box, to defend themselves against bullies, to understand not to be a bully. It's a lifestyle, it's a choice, it's an education. And Dick followed that path. Remember, there was no television, no radios, no computers. So Dick was one of those people who was able to focus on the skills that he found he had and to develop them.
Well, it's been great to hear more about him from you today, Norrie, and our condolences to you and everyone else at St Francis as well for your loss. But thanks so much for telling us more about him.
My pleasure.
Some breaking news for you now, and a 14-year-old boy has appeared in court charged with murdering 15-year-old Ammon Teckley in the St George's Cross area of Glasgow last Wednesday. He's accused of stabbing Ammon with a knife. Court papers further state the 14-year-old boy and a 15-year-old boy face a separate assault charge. The two boys made no plea today at a private hearing at Glasgow Sheriff Court. Now, if you're a fan of Scotland's Greatest Escape, where delightful Scottish getaways are discovered, you'll be happy to hear a new series has arrived. This time, presenter Grado has a new sidekick in the form of our very own weather presenter, Judith Ralston. Indigo Stafford caught up with Judith and Grado earlier.
Oh, look at that. Join Grado and Judith and rediscover all that Scotland has to offer.
This is like something for the Italian Riviera.
Judith and Grado, what an iconic duo. Tell us all about the new season of the show.
Scotland's Greatest Escape is on the third series of the show. It's a wee bit different this time round because we've got Judith Ralston, who came on the road with me, who was absolutely amazing. We had an absolute ball, travelling around Dumfries and Galloway, Highlands and Islands, the Borders, Ayrshire and Perthshire, which Perthshire tonight is the first episode we had.
Such a belly laugh. The trees,
they sing to us
like no other county.
D&G, D&G,
D&G, D&G. Oh, Grado, that's it. We'll be the West End. Well, I can only imagine the antics that have gone on here. Use half of them on, didn't they?
What a way to sell the show. We had antics, but they never showed it. No, we did. We had a lot of fun.
We chucked herself off a bridge, attached to a rope.
Aye.
That was...
That's brave.
Oh,
Aye.
it was so scary, wasn't it?
Judith went first.
Honest. I did go first. I knew if I saw him do it, I wouldn't do it. And I thought, right, I wanted to show my kids that I was brave and I could do it, because we'd mulled it over and I thought, oh, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do it. And I kept it quiet from my husband, so he didn't know I was doing it.
That's right. So you try to say that your husband's going to watch this tonight to tell and go, I never knew you bungee jumped. That's class. Brilliant. Whereas she didn't no bother. She eventually just jumped off, but I had to be pushed off, which was a wee bit embarrassing.
Watch that tonight, him being shoved off it. Were you panicking?
Oh, I did not enjoy that. I thought never again.
Do you know what he did? Right, just before I was about to jump, I'm geeing myself up and I'm like, oh, I can't. And honestly, I was saying to myself, I can't do it. He goes, Judith! And I said, what? He went, I've not seen you without your glasses before. I'm like, I'm just about to throw myself to my death and you want to have a look at me without my stick.
That was it. It was weird seeing Judith after the weather without her legs.
I am scared. I have to say I'm scared. All the way forward.
Don't swear.
Go on, you got
We're on BBC.
I'm really scared.
Go on, you
Are
got
you
this.
sure?
So look up at the mountain.
Go
on, you got
I'm
this.
actually really scared.
I know. I thought.
But the longer we stand up here, the harder it becomes, okay?
Right.
On my count, nice big dive. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, bungee!
How important do you think it is to encourage people to go on holiday in Scotland? Because I'm just going to admit, I'm really guilty for saying, oh, I'm going to go on holiday in Scotland this year, and then going to Spain, going to Turkey.
Yeah.
What I will say is, what I was taken aback by was these people that own these escapes.
Mm-hmm.
Young people, older people, people that are just getting started out, these young entrepreneurs are...
It's their dreams
It's
coming
their
true.
dreams.
And they want to make your stay as amazing as possible.
The good thing about these places is that they're on your doorstep. You don't need to worry about going to the airport and your plane getting delayed and paying a tenner for a pint in the airport. What you can do is jump in the motor and enjoy the road trip and see the scenery that Scotland has to offer.
Perfect ending, the perfect escape.
Scotland's Greatest Escape. Watch all episodes now on BBC iPlayer.
Yep, you can catch up with all those antics from Judith and Grado on the new series Scotland's Greatest Escape. That's tonight at 10:30 on BBC Scotland, with all the episodes also available to watch on BBC iPlayer. Some great holiday ideas there too, isn't there? Right, time for some weather now. And it was a weekend to holiday in Scotland.
Wasn't it, Jess?
I'm not so sure about today. It felt a bit colder today.
It certainly did. It felt more like March, didn't it?
Yes.
Temperatures back down to where we would expect, or just below, actually, for the time of year. Some lovely photos, nonetheless, coming into us. Let me show you some of them, Laura. Thanks very much indeed. Beautiful picture from one of our weather watchers here in Gairloch, but the blue skies there hiding that chill north wind that was around and will be with us through the coming week. A rather leaden skies there on the east coast meanwhile. And whilst Dumfries and Galloway yesterday saw temperatures into the high teens, much cooler today, and actually it's sticking with that cooler trend through the week. Let me show you in numbers what we saw yesterday. You can see the left-hand column there, 17 degrees in a few spots. The right-hand column was today's values. Aviemore 13 degrees lower. Here's what's happening over the next few days. We've got high pressure situated towards the northwest and a north wind as a result, never a warm direction, and that will be with us throughout the coming days. That means overnight tonight, a widespread frost, and we get off to a rather chilly start tomorrow morning. 8 a.m. temperature-wise in towns and cities, 2 or 3 Celsius. Variable cloud, a few bright spells and a number of showers coming in on those north winds. Chiefly those showers affecting northern parts of the mainland, and certainly if you're around northern coasts, those winds will be brisk, just adding to that cold feel. So as we head through the course of Tuesday, it's a day of weather sort of similar to today really. Variable clouds, some bright skies and some showers arriving. Some of those showers could be wintry in the hills, rain for most. You can see, looking ahead towards Wednesday, that cold air still with us, filtering its way southwards on the air mass chart there, which means midweek is a similar picture. In fact, we'll have a little bit of a trough moving southwards, bringing a more pronounced area of showery rain across the Grampians, again wintry and high ground. Avoid the showers and the wind. 8 or 9 degrees isn't too bad. Certainly the sunshine just getting a bit more strength to it at this time of year. And then on Thursday, once again fairly cloudy with a north wind feeding in a few showers. Temperatures steadfast at 5 to 9 Celsius. The wind's easing off a touch, and that is really what's happening through the end of the week. This is Friday and Saturday. That high pressure just sort of nosing its way in, cutting off that north wind and reducing the showers. Still a few of them around, mind, on Friday across the northwest. But actually a brighter day all told, with some sunshine, not doing much for the temperature, mind, here in Scotland, 6 to 9 Celsius. So you can see on the outlook, temperatures around about 6 to 9 Celsius. Some sunshine, bit of cloud, 1 or 2 showers at times too. 17 degrees yesterday. That was decent, wasn't it?
It really was nice. This talk of spring was premature though. We'll go back in our winter box. Chris, thank you very much. And finally tonight, a documentary about a young football fan from Aberdeenshire who cycled from Hampden to Munich after nearly losing his life in a car crash has closed this year's Glasgow Film Festival. Ethan Walker was on a scholarship in the US when he was hit by a car in September 2023. His family was told he might not survive, but he defied the odds to recover. Ethan took on the 1,200-kilometre cycle for charity as Scotland prepared to face Germany in the opening match of Euro 2024. Martin Robertson created the film Make It to Munich. That is all for tonight. Stay tuned for Sports Scene. Livingston v St Johnstone in the Scottish Cup is coming up. Sarah McMullen will be back here with you tomorrow night at 7. Bye for now.